Chapter 1. Family Upbringing. 1. The elder related to me the following story. Once a Greek-American doctor came here. He was Orthodox, but didn't have a lot to do with religion. He didn't even keep the Friday fast, nor did he go to church often. He had had an experience and wanted to discuss it. One night when he was praying in his apartment, the sky opened up. He was drenched in light, and the roof and the 40 floors disappeared from above him. The light covered him for a long time. He couldn't tell for how long. I marveled because I felt and understood that it was from God. It was real. He had seen the uncreated light. What was the content of his life? How did he live so as to be made worthy of such divine things? He was married, had a wife and children. His wife told him, "I'm tired of housework. I want to go out for a stroll." Well, in any case, she didn't have a job and began going around with her friends and dragging him out every night. After a little while, she said to him, "I want to go out alone with my girlfriends." He accepted this for the sake of his children. Afterwards, she exclaimed, "I want to go on vacation alone." What could he do? He gave her money and the car. Afterwards, she asked to rent an apartment so she could live on her own, where she would also bring her friends. He spoke to her, he advised her, "Come on, what will our children feel?" She said nothing. In the end, she took a lot of money from him and left. He was distressed. After a few years, he learned that she had ended up a prostitute in the stores of Perea. He was distressed. He cried. He thought of going to find her. What could he tell her, though? He knelt to pray. "Oh God, enlighten me what to say, what to do, so that that soul can be saved." You see, he hurt for her. He wanted that soul to be saved. Neither manly egotism, nor revenge, nor scorn. He hurt for the state she ended up in. He longed for her salvation. Then God opened heaven, drenched him in his light. You see, he in America, in what kind of environment did he live? Whereas how many of us live on the holy mountain, amongst the saints, in the grace of the Panagia, and we don't make progress. Glory to God. Glory to God. 2. One must regard his fiancée as his sister, and both should be very careful and practice restraint. They should struggle for the sake of God, so as to be crowned in the end as honorable strugglers. That's what the marriage crowns and the wedding ceremonies symbolize. Thus, one has divine grace as his help. The engagement should be brief and not drag on for a long time. 3. Elder, how should the spouses act towards one another? Get married, and then we'll discuss it. Can't you tell me now? They should have A, B, and a good squabble between them. Author's note. In other words, each one should joyously take the burdens upon himself and give relief to the other. He should carry the shopping bags to relieve the other, do favors for the other so as to make the other happy. The comfort of the other one should become one's joy. December 1988. 4. Elder, they used to tell us that sex is a good thing, and the more often one does it, the better. They also said that those who don't do it develop psychological problems, that one when he is young should do it 23 times a day to be able in his old age to do it once. What is this, my child? Who says this? My. A foreign doctor came here who goes to worldwide conferences, etc., and he was saying that continence is best for the body. Sperm is very strengthening. We can tell when young men have lots of relationships from the fact that if they break a bone, they have no marrow. It's become like water. I can recognize promiscuous young men who visit me from their eyes, which have become like this. He showed me. Their memory becomes very weak, worse than that of the elderly. One also notices their mind is ruined. Metaphorically speaking, it's like cheese, which becomes like yogurt, afterwards like sour milk, and then like milk. And if they persist, it becomes like water. Elder, is this carnal desire which springs from the flesh natural like hunger, thirst, or is it a passion? Is its misuse evil, like for example not food but gluttony is evil? Or is the desire itself evil? Did the first created ones have it in paradise? It's a passion. What do you think it is? A passion. It springs from a person's carnal way of thinking. If one is a spiritual person, he does not have such desires, not out of incapability that he can't have them, but due to his spiritual state he doesn't desire them. All people have a carnal way of thinking. This is inherited from one's parents. You see, if a little child has been born from sensual parents, even as a child he has such desires. However, this is nothing. It can be healed. It's soft like a nettle. It hasn't become hard yet to become a thorn, and it is overcome easily with a good spiritual father. But he must have discernment to understand what is what, because in the beginning all plants have two little leaves. All people, to a greater or lesser extent, think carnally. One person, let's say, is 30% spiritual, another 40%, another 60%. The most spiritual person I encountered was 75%. Only Joachim and Anna were completely spiritual people, as well as that most dispassionate little child, the Panagia, who was born after prayer. This experienced when I was at Sinai. In a vision, Elder, he was silent. In other words, did Joachim and Anna become completely spiritual through ascesis, or were they like this from the beginning? It seems to me that they were like this from the beginning. Without food or water, man dies. However, if one abstains from sex, he doesn't suffer anything. He is only troubled in soul, as he is troubled by the other passions. Anger, egotism, vainglory, people-pleasing. After marriage, sex is forgiven for childbearing, or by economy. 5. Before I got married, I discussed the following topics with the elder, and he counseled me in relation to them. The elder used to say, "It is good for a person to get married at a relatively young age. Then things come more naturally. One gets adjusted naturally and easily to one another. One sees that couples who got married at a young age keep a childlike simplicity in their relationship all their lives. One also observes the same thing in monks who come to the holy mountain at an early age. The proverb is true which goes, either get married or become a monastic young while still young. When a person gets older, reason starts to take over, and one examines everything and measures everything. Also his character becomes solidified. It is difficult for him to adjust. When a person reaches 30, in order to get married, 30 people must push him. When he reaches 40, 60 people are needed to push him. It is difficult for him to decide to take on this yoke. You have become accustomed to living recklessly. You become like the wild horses when someone tries to put the bit on them. Being startled, they jump, they kick, and they run far away. Laughing, the day before your marriage or your tonsure, if I come and hold your nose, you'll burst, you'll go boom. Laughter. 6. Elder, a female acquaintance of mine has a relationship with someone and is thinking of marriage. Is he also thinking of it? Does he want it? Well, a bit. For one to get married a little, he must want it a lot. 7. A married couple must have the same spiritual father. They should agree from the beginning so they don't have problems later on. You see, the spiritual father helps a lot. He sees the anomalies and the peculiarities of both, and he chisels them away so that they can fit like two pieces of wood which must unite. I, when I was a carpenter, chiseled pieces of wood so that they would fit well, so that they could stand on their own. Afterwards I would drive in a nail and they'd be fine. However, if the pieces of wood don't match, they won't fit well, and if you force them into place with nails, eventually from the pressure they will break apart. For this reason, the carpenter must have both pieces of wood in his hands, to see what work is being done on the one, so he can work the other one accordingly. This is how the spiritual father should also be. The spiritual father helps a lot. Many couples which were suited for each other, who married because they were in love, separated afterwards because they were not helped by a good spiritual father. Sometimes, however, couples which did not suit one another, but had the same spiritual father, did just fine. 8. In marriage, one must restrain oneself and not allow pleasure unbridled. 9. When the woman is pregnant, then the best thing is to stop relations immediately, or if they aren't able, to limit them. From the 6th month on, however, they should definitely stop having relations, because aside from the danger to the child, miscarriage, etc., spiritual harm also occurs. The embryo, you see, is forced to participate also in the pleasure which his mother feels, and already from the womb develops a passion. There are infants who, while being nursed, are fired up in the flesh. On the other hand, there are boys, 18 to 20 years old, who are dispassionate and are not bothered by their body. To what can we attest this difference? To the spiritual state of their parents. It is a spiritual inheritance. Children don't only inherit houses, fields, etc., but they inherit also the passions or the virtues of their parents. Analogous to whether a person is rich or poor, he leaves many or few things. Thus, there are children who have a rich spiritual inheritance from their parents, children with many virtues. These children, if they add their own toil and struggle as well, can reach a high spiritual state. This is because they were given a head start. For this reason, our Panagia was so pure. Not even a sinful thought approached her. Her ancestry was holy. Joachim and Anna were holy, and even the conception of the Panagia was without pleasure. God, however, is not unjust. What is taken into account is the restraint that one exercises on oneself. Each person's toil and struggle to keep Christ's commandments, to please God, counts in the sight of God, and not the point from which one sets out. 10. When a woman is pregnant, she must be calm, read the gospel, pray, say the Jesus prayer. Thus the child is also sanctified. The child's upbringing begins in the womb. One should be careful not to upset a pregnant woman for any reason. 11. When my wife was expecting a child, be careful not to upset her now in any way. Be very careful. Tell her to say the Jesus prayer and to chant. That will help the child a lot. She should do this later on as well. 12. When my child was born, I heard from doctors, friends, and relatives various viewpoints concerning breastfeeding. Most had the opinion and tried to persuade us that breastfeeding should last only a few months. The elder, however, didn't agree and expressed his view with conviction. When I asked him about this topic, he said, "No, Blessed One, she should nurse the child. Mother's milk is the best. It is also a medicine, so the child doesn't get ill. In my village, they would nurse the child until he was 5 or 6 years old. You see, children don't only receive milk, but they also receive love, loving care, tenderness, and security. In this way, they also become strong in soul. Thus, when children grow up, they will become strong and be able to catch setis with one hand. Nursing has many aspects to it. It is not just for the milk. While a woman is nursing her child, it is unlikely that she will get pregnant. You see, it is also a natural protection for the mother, so that she doesn't become pregnant again right away. Nursing is the best. How long should she nurse, Elder? As long as she can, for 3 or 4 years. My wife worked and was getting very tired. She had gotten ill and was increasingly exhausted. Everyone, the doctor, mother, mother-in-law, friends, were pressuring her, arguing that the nursing should stop. I went to the elder and again asked about this topic. The elder stood up a bit, weighed the situation, and said, "Let her nurse at least till the child is 2 years old." The elder insisted that nursing be continued at least for the first 2 years. 13. Elder, many young people today don't want to have children because they see the kind of world they'll bring their child into. Pollution from chemicals and nuclear energy, life full of anxiety, wild society, wars. If we are already in the time of the Antichrist, it seems to me maybe it's not worth getting married and having children. No, Thanasi, it's not like this. Didn't Christians at the time of the persecutions get married? Didn't they have children? They both married and had children. They had their hope in Christ, not in people. This way of thinking is faint-heartedness. In 1 minute, God can change everything, straighten all the crooked things. People make plans. God has his own also. If you knew how many times the devil wrapped the earth in his tail so as to destroy it, but God doesn't allow him. He ruins his plans. The evil which the devil goes to do, God uses and produces great good. Don't worry. Elder, at what point does a parent's obligation to his child end? He wants to leave them something. How much something? 1, 2, 3 houses? An acquaintance of mine, a factory owner, who had a lot of money, apartment buildings, etc., what did he do? He educated his children. They finished university and did postgraduate work. He also left them an apartment each. The rest of his wealth he gave to his workers and to others who had need. First of all, one should give them a good Christian upbringing. This is the most important provision for their life. Afterwards, it's good to educate them adequately. If they want to proceed to the university, do postgraduate work, one should help them, or else they should learn a skill. He should help them, that is, to be able to support themselves. Well, afterwards, if one has the means, he can leave them something, a plot of land, a house, so that they have a nest. Some parents are indifferent about their children and spend all their wealth. They don't leave anything for their children. Some even leave nothing but debts. This is very bad. When the refugees came from Asia Minor in 1924, the head of the village tried to help everyone. One got this field, another that estate, etc. He left himself for last. He didn't take his own needs into account. When his children grew up, they complained to him, "You settled everyone well. Didn't you think of us at all?" And the children were right. It's one thing for one to be on his own. If one has a family, he must care for his family first, and then for the others who have their own relatives to think of. 14. During the occupation, i.e. by the Germans during World War II, a child had been left orphaned in the neighborhood. No one would take him into his house. Everyone was thinking of various things. It's the occupation, I can barely make it by, how will I feed him, etc. There was one man who had 10 children. He was poor as well. As soon as he saw the poor thing, he pitied him. He invited him into his house and placed him underneath the blankets together with the other ones. I have 10, and that one makes 11, he thought. God will provide. The elder laughed joyously and happily continued. You see, the man who had many children had a rich heart, even though he was poor. For this reason, he was also richly blessed by God. 15. Elder, some couples are unable to have children, though they want to. Why does this happen? This is so that an orphan or two can find a home. Sometimes, as soon as a couple took an orphan, God also gave them a child of their own afterwards. 16. When one returns from his work and is frustrated or anxious, it is good for him to go to a park for 20 minutes so as to return home calm and with a smile, even though this may make him late. 17. One of the last times the elder, my wife, and I were together, we had the following conversation. As soon as we entered the room, the elder was lying on the bed because of his illness. He started to tease us, laughing. Welcome, welcome. Are you quarreling? Are you quarreling? Danasi, are you quarreling amongst yourselves? Well, elder, we are quarreling. Laughter. Why? Don't quarrel. Quarrel with everyone else, but amongst yourselves don't quarrel. Do you hear, Danasi? I give you the blessing to quarrel with whomever you want, but with your wife, don't quarrel. He turned to my wife. And to you, Anastasia, I give you a blessing. You know what a blessing means? Laughter. Yes, I give a blessing to quarrel with whomever you wish. Amongst yourselves, don't quarrel. Laughter. We also laughed with these strange words of his. However, we realized very well that despite the fact the elder was laughing, he was speaking seriously. He considered it very bad for couples to have arguments amongst themselves. Such a great evil, in fact, that he gave us not only the permission, but also his blessing to do a comparatively much lesser evil, to quarrel with everyone else, so long as we avoid the great evil of quarreling among spouses. January 20th, 1990. 18. Once a very distressed person visited. He didn't get on well with his wife. They didn't want to see one another and wouldn't even sit at the table together to eat. Even their little children, they had 4, searched their pockets in case their mother had brought anything from outside for them to eat. In other words, they were heading for separation. When he went to spiritual fathers for advice, they would tell him, "Patience, you are carrying a large cross." I didn't like this. "Wait a minute," I told him. "When you got married, were you in love?" "Yes, a lot. I worshipped her more than God," he told me. Did you hear that? More than God. It made a bad impression on me. He told me, when I was to get married, asked God that my wife be beautiful, rich, and educated. Truly, God provided. And so he told me. All along, he was only interested in sex, so much so that he almost lost his soul. He was in danger, so God took his grace from his wife in order to save him. I told him, "What's the great cross you're carrying?" etc. You are to blame. You are living for your passions, and an attempt is being made for you to be healed from your passions. 19. Even within marriage, one must restrain oneself from pleasure, to limit one's love of pleasure. 20. There was a certain acquaintance of the elder who had been struggling for years to become a monk. He asked, through a certain friend of his, that the elder pray, because people were becoming ill in his family and he was very distressed. The elder said, "The more he stays in the world, the more the tempter will make his relatives sick to give him excuses to stay." The devil sees the heart, which is a little hesitant, and brings about circumstances so that a person will never get untangled from the world. I had an unmarried sister, the 3 others were married, and 2 brothers. I worked, I provided her with a dowry so I could have peace of mind, and then I left to become a monk. Why should I wait for her to get married? And how do I know if she even wants to or if she will ever get married? There was someone who wanted to become a monk. He delayed it. Let me wait until my sister gets married, he said. Let me provide her with a dowry. Well, she got married. However, he didn't leave. Let me take care of my mother a bit, he said. He delayed. Well, later on his sister got separated from her husband. Now he had to provide her with a bigger dowry. In such cases, however, God helps. A dowry came, an inheritance from America. His sister got married again, but again he delayed. He wouldn't leave to become a monk. His sister separated again. The devil kept using such things to keep him in the world. In the end, he became a priest in the world.